UFC 314 has a lot of strange rumors attached to it right now. Is Diego Lopes fighting Alexander Volkanovski, or is Ilia Topuria? I think we are most likely to see Ilia Topuria fight at UFC 314 against Alexander Volkanovski. I think that's too big of a fight for the UFC not to make. I think they want to stick by Volk. He's done so much for them. Short notice fights, 5 defenses as the featherweight champion, the most accomplished featherweight champion in UFC history. Uh, so I think they're going to want to make this fight. But Ilia Topuria has said that he has a hard time cutting down to 145 pounds. Dan Hooker stated in an interview, a little tidbit of information here, was that it was really supposed to be Topuria and Volkanovski at UFC 313, not Pereira and Ankalaev. But Topuria said needed at least 6 months to cut weight, which is kind of an interesting, statement there. How much weight is Topuria cutting? How much of a struggle is cutting weight for him down to featherweight? That's kind of interesting. Uh, so if that's that much of a struggle for him, he should move up to lightweight, which he said that he wants to do. He revealed that following UFC 310, which I think the UFC probably would have liked to have known a little bit beforehand, maybe. Especially with UFC 312 in Australia happening in February. I think they would have liked Volkanovski to have that fight in his home country. But it's uh, just kind of the way things are here in the UFC that they have so many fighters that they have to deal with. So many different things can go wrong. But Ilia Topuria seems willing or determined to fight at lightweight in 2025, which good for him. He seems like he wants to move up, try new things, fight Islam Makhachev. Seems really determined to get that Islam Makhachev fight. Great fight. I've said on this channel several times. I believe Ilia Topuria will be the guy to beat Islam Makhachev and to dethrone him as the lightweight champion. If that fight takes place, Islam could obviously leave the lightweight division whenever he chooses after 4 title defenses, most in the division's history. Uh, but at the end of the day, here, I think Ilia wants that fight. I think the UFC wants that fight. Ilia is a massive star. And I think Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev is something that the UFC wants to make in 2025 because it makes money. And where does that leave the featherweight division? I think they want Ilia Topuria's last fight in the featherweight division to be Volkanovski. However, if Topuria can't make weight, he says that he is willing to fight a contender in the lightweight division and then fight the lightweight champion. So who's that contender? He says that he wants to fight Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira has made it clear that he wants Islam Makhachev next for the title, or he's willing to fight Max Holloway for that BMF belt for a rematch. So Charles has two opponents here. That's realistically better options for him, money wise or career wise, uh, than Ilia Topuria is. He can go for two different belts right now. So Charles is in a better spot than Ilia would be. He is better positions and better fight options than Ilia Topuria. Justin Gaethje's fighting Dan Hooker at UFC 313 in March. Uh, Dustin Poirier needs an opponent. Ilia Topuria, Dustin Poirier, Dustin's final dance in the UFC. Everyone would love to see that fight. That fight sells. That's an entertaining fight. I would love to see that fight. So I think that's an option that Ilia could take. But where does that leave the featherweight division? There is one guy in the UFC who would be perfect to fight Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 314 for a vacant title if Poirier vacates the division, and that is Diego Lopes. Those are two guys who, they will fight anyone, anytime, anywhere, no matter what short notice that they have. We learned about Diego Lopes last year at UFC 303, fighting Dan Ige on like 3 hours' notice when he was preparing for Brian Ortega. He made 145. The fight was agreed to be at 155 the night before, and he fought Dan Ige at like 161. Dan Ige had like a 3 month camp. Diego Lopes had like a 2 week camp. Dan Ige didn't have to cut weight, and it was a good fight. Diego Lopes put on a really good performance and won the fight. He is a guy who could beat Volkanovski. He is a dangerous title challenger at featherweight. And that's that he's a star in his own right. So Diego Lopez and Alexander Volkanovski would make a great title fight. But again, Ilia Topuria, it's all about what he does next. And I think the UFC is going to make him fight Volkanovski because one thing that Ilia Topuria doesn't have in the situation is power. And you know why we know that is because Conor McGregor never had any power in the UFC. Chael Sonnen talked about this on his YouTube page several times when referring to Conor. The thing that Conor tried to sell to the public, one thing he never had was power. Dana White and Hunter Campbell run things in the UFC. They have all the power. They're in charge. What they say goes. And if they want Volkanovski to get the title shot in the rematch against Ilia Topuria, he's gonna get it because Volkanovski's done so much for this company. Stepping in, fighting Islam Makhachev on short notice. Being the guy to always come in on short notice. Fighting Yair Rodriguez. With a quick turnaround. Fighting Ilia Topuria with a quick turnaround. Going up and down divisions. He was a fantastic fighter in his prime. We don't know if he is in his prime anymore, but he deserves the opportunity to still fight for the belt. Most accomplished featherweight champion of all time, 5 title defenses. Volkanovski deserves to be in a title shot for UFC 314, regardless if it's Topuria or Diego Lopes. Volkanovski has earned the right to be here and deserved the right to have that opportunity and deserved the right to avenge his loss. He has taken the time to recover after 2 pretty devastating knockouts. He's taken about a year off now. He's in good shape. He's ready to fight again. We're going to see if Volkanovski and Topuria, one was a fluke or if Ilia Topuria is just the new guy in the featherweight division. And I think the UFC wants to see that. I think the fans want to see that. Just put a finality to Volkanovski's, featherweight dominance. Or can Volkanovski continue? I think this is going to be something that fans just want to see and something that the UFC wants to see and something that fans want an answer to. And I think the UFC is going to force Topuria to have at least one more fight at featherweight and then allow him to move up to lightweight. Because he is such a big star, that weight cut does seem to be killing him. If it's taken him 6 months to cut weight. We'll see how things play out here. We're going to find out around UFC 312. A lot of news is going to drop in the coming days. And it's going to be exciting to find out what happens at UFC 314 and what the main event's going to be. But let me know what you guys think of the featherweight division situation in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. I follow the Interim Title Show on Instagram. And as always, thanks for watching.